if we live in rhythm with the biblical holidays and the Torah portion of the week, if you're living in the rhythm of the Bible, then the holiday that's upon us right now is Purim. So right away, you should take your eyes away from Russia and put them for a minute toward Persia, because that's actually what's really happening, towards Iran. Iran is ancient Persia, and lo and behold, there's this man who rose up in Iran, and he wants to destroy every Jew in Israel, from woman to child, in one day. It's literally like a quote out of the Bible. And President Joe Biden has shifted away from Trump's kind of hard line against them. And Iran is the world's largest sponsor of terror. And right now, America is considering providing sanctions relief to Iran. That means that President Biden will be releasing $50 billion immediately to Iran, and then another $10 billion a year through oil and gas. And all of this while they are producing nuclear warheads. Wow. Okay, there's like some skirmish happening between Russia and the Ukraine, but I just want you to know that Iran with nuclear bombs is a bigger threat to the free world than what's happening in the Ukraine now. But no one is talking about that now. Our attention has been totally shifted to another topic. And this Persian leader with this death wish for Israel, and they chant, first the Saturday people, then the Sunday people, first Israel, and then America. And what's happening, you're never going to hear this in the Western media. And that's why I want to share it with you today on the fellowship. I want to introduce to you Dr. Mordechai Kedar, and he is one of the world's experts in the Arab Islamic world. He served for 25 years in the IDF military intelligence, where he specialized in Islamic groups, political discourse, the Arab countries, the Arabic press and mass media. He speaks several dialects of Arabic, English, and Hebrew, and he's one of the most respected voices in Israel concerning the Arab world today. I want you to watch what he's saying is happening in Iran right now, because Iran, we know so little, because none of us speak Farsi, and we don't know really what's happening on that side of the world. The press doesn't really talk about it, but the situation in Iran is not simple. But it seems that the very last holiday of the Bible, where God's name is not mentioned, is somewhat of a blueprint for us to know that when God cannot be seen, keep your eyes back on Persia, because that's where the final redemption may come from. And so this is just a short video that we got permission to use from Dr. Mordechai Kedar, and it's in English, so you can understand a little bit more about what might just happen in Iran, and it's not all bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, people talk about the Iranian people or the Iranian nation. Well, I have news for those. There is no Iranian nation. There is no one group which defines itself as Iranian nation. There are Iranian citizens, definitely, the citizens of the state of Iran, but ethnically, there is no Iranian nation. So what is there? There are many ethnic groups which live in Iran. Persians, who are not even half of the population, less than half of the population of Iran, and they are the hegemonic group of Iran. But there are many others. There are Balochi people who are not Persians. Iranians, yes, but they are not Persians. They live in the southeast of Iran. There are Azeris, more or less the brothers of the people of Azerbaijan, which once was part of the Soviet Union, but today it is an independent country since 30 years. There are Kurds, who are the continuation of the Kurds of Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. There are Turkmens, who are the continuation of Turkmenistan, which also was once part of the Soviet Union, and today it's an independent country. Yet their brothers who are under Iranian rule are in Iran, but they are Turkmens. And there are Arabs who live in the Ahwaz district of Iran, which is overlooking the Persian Gulf from north and east. And by the way, most of the oil and the gas which the Iranians own are coming from under the feet of those Arabs who live in this district of Ahwaz. And there are many more Kashkais and Luris and Caspians and Mazandaranis and Gilyakis and many more groups which I believe many of you have never heard about. Recently, people from the minorities of Iran, which actually are more than half, altogether are more than half of the population, today they started to demand freedom. Means they want to depart from the Iranian state. They want independence, just like what happened with the Soviet Union, as you know, which was fragmented to 15 countries: Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Armenia, Azerbaijan. Okay, all these ethnic states which emerged from the ruins of the Soviet Union. The same thing, or Yugoslavia, which was also fragmented to some states, Serbia, Croatia, Montenegro, and so forth. They want, those minorities in Iran today want the same thing, that Iran will be divided to ethnic states, and each and every one of these minorities wants independence and freedom and to establish its own state within the borders of their district. And this is a new thing, and actually the representatives or leaders of these minorities decided to start a rebellion against the country, not against only the regime, the mullah regime. They want to be departed from the whole country. They want to start their rebellion in March 16, 2022. Means some 90-something days from today. And now they are organizing the rebellion because they are more than sure, or they hope, that if all of them will rebel against the state in one day, they will succeed to topple the state and to fragment the Iranian state to ethnic states which will be independent. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever supports freedom, human rights, because they are oppressed, heavily oppressed by the Persians. They are hung up with cranes in the streets. They are impoverished. They are oppressed heavily by the central regime of the Persians. And they want independence because of the oppression. Whoever supports human rights, political freedoms, should support those ethnic groups in Iran who want to depart from the state and to establish their own ethnic states. Please support them. They need the world's support against the mullah regime, which wants to continue to oppress them as they do for many years. Thank you so much, and 16th of March, wait to this date.
Okay, so what I want to point out, just for those that are paying attention, because Dr. Kedar said this, 3 months ago, the 16th of March is Purim. That is when the holiday falls out. Now, he didn't explain, because he had a much longer video in Hebrew, that the 16th of March just so happens to be a national holiday in Iran that's roots are in the Zoroastrian idolatrous religion that worships the fire on that day. And everyone goes out into the streets and lights bonfires. As they do in Israel on Lag BaOmer, it's kind of like a national holiday where everyone is in the streets making fires. And so they said, that will be a great day for everyone's firing it up. That's going to be the day that all of these ethnic groups that are the majority of the people in Iran are going to rise up and try to overthrow the Iranian regime. Now, imagine what's happening here. All of this is happening right now. Russia and the Ukraine, and then slowly but surely there's this Iran deal that doesn't really make the headlines as much. That's literally going to create Iran as a nuclear superpower that will threaten the very existence of Israel. They say it quite clearly. As soon as they have nuclear bombs, they're just going to press the button and try to destroy Israel immediately. And if it causes a world war, that's the theology that they believe in. They believe that they were sent to usher in the final war that will bring in their Messiah. And so they're just waiting for this to happen. And if you're like in Israel's position, you're like, whoa, what's happening now? Our government is not really doing much because Prime Minister Netanyahu is no longer at the helm. the world is obsessed right now with Corona and now with Russia and the Ukraine. And now Biden is taking away the sanctions from Iran, giving them $50 billion. They're going to have a nuclear bomb soon. And then who knows, in one moment, the world could flip upside down on March 16th in something that the world doesn't even know about, because what's happening on social media in these different Arab dialects, we could never read. If we didn't have Dr. Mordechai Kedar, we would never even have known about it. Now, what could really happen here is that in one moment, Russia in Hebrew, the word Russia literally means evil. That's kind of interesting that, I mean, this communist reality that sort of destroyed millions of people. Many, many more people were killed by Stalin than killed by Hitler. And in 2 doses, Russia and Iran may just come down at the end of this shaking up that's happening here. And so get ready, because the world is going to get interesting.